Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Lower Bucks. We're small, but we're vibrant. See some familiar faces we haven't seen in a while. We have love as our foundation, and we live that value out every day by our acceptance of all of those with whom we connect each day. My name is Jeff Fisher, and I will be your lay leader this morning. Try to navigate us through this service with wonderful music and an outstanding, compelling speaker who we've had before. Throughout the year, we've been practicing deep listening, repairing, being present, telling our stories, including others. For this reason, we're grateful for your presence today and the opportunity to connect. We invite you to hear the messages that are spoken and the music that will inspire. For it's our sincere hope that this time together lends strength to your own personal journey. Let us now begin. Our March Soul Matters theme is trust, the practice of trust. Trust is the firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, or strength of someone or something. As UUs, we root our faith, our trust, in a set of principles and values that we all share. But as individuals, we likely trust in multiple things and people, including trusting ourselves. Reverend Cameron Trimble wonders, what if we trusted that the divine is already at work, weaving beauty even in the uncertainties? What if we trusted that transformation doesn't happen all at once, but step by step, day by day? Trust is built in small moments of truth, and it can be destroyed in small moments of betrayal. So trusting in our own deepest experience and the helping hands around us can often take us where we need to be and move us forward. Reverend Dr. Sandra Fees explains, trusting oneself has to do with the ability to bounce back, to be resilient, and to overcome a slip-up or a failure. To trust oneself has to do with believing that we will find a way to be okay if or even when we get it wrong. It has to do with having the courage to learn, to grow, and to trust again. Think of the bird sitting on a tree. She's never afraid of the branch breaking because her trust is not in the branch, but in her own wings. I'm honored to present today our speaker, who will be joining us for a reading and for a sermon later. It's the Reverend Dr. Neal Jones, who we all enjoy. Once again, Reverend Dr. Jones will be with us on Zoom, so everybody's getting the same experience today. The doctor part of his title is he's a psychologist, and the reverend part of his title is he has served in 5 congregations in North and South Carolina, Texas, and Pennsylvania, most recently at the Mainline Unitarian Church near Philadelphia. Reverend Neal's sermon today is titled, Choosing Your Problems. Neal reminds us that, quote, by trying to be happy, we make ourselves miserable. A better tactic is to choose your problems. But first, before all that, we'll start with a musical prelude from our virtuoso, Avi Wisnia, who has chosen and will perform a wonderful song for us.
Good morning to everybody in this room and on this Zoom. We'll start off today with a little Bob Marley. I hope it puts you in the right frame of mind for tackling on this day, this week, this month, this year, and so on. I said, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. I said, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Woke up this morning, smiled with the rising sun. 3 little birds perch on my doorstep, singing sweet songs, melodies pure and true. They were singing, this is my message to you. I said, don't worry about a thing, da da da. It's every little thing. It's gonna be alright, be alright. Said don't worry about a thing. La da 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 da. Every little thing is gonna be alright. Woke up this morning, smiled with the rising sun. 3 little birds perched on my doorstep, singing sweet songs, melodies pure and true. They were singing, this is my message to you. So I said, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. I said, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright.
Some love for Avi there. This morning we'd like to light our chalice, and I'll read the opening words. I'd like the help of Arlette Rosen if she's so willing and able, which I know she is. She's been practicing. Okay. Got it? Yay. With faith to face our challenges, with love that casts out fear, with hope to trust tomorrow, we accept this day as the gift it is, a reason for rejoicing. Thank you. And now I'd like to welcome the Venerable Gil Perry for our message for all ages. Probably no turtles this morning, though.
Good morning. I have a very nice message for you this morning called The Magical Yet. Y-E-T, yet. There are days when your dreams haven't come true, or you're upset by the things you can't do. If you've lost or failed or cried just a bit, you're tired of waiting, ready to quit. Like that shiny new bike you couldn't ride, and it didn't matter how hard you tried. You couldn't pedal, and you couldn't steer, and you couldn't get that bike into gear. Then when you thought you were on the right track, you popped a wheelie and fell on your back. And now, you won't ride. No way, not never. No riding for you. You'll walk forever. Don't give up now. There's a major game changer, a most amazing thought rearranger, someone to show you how good you can get. Now introducing the Magical Yet. With this Yet's magic, you can begin to see that you're going beyond where you've been. There are so many things that you've learned to do when you didn't know the Yet was with you. Like when you babbled before you could talk, or how you crawled before you could walk. Yet's a dreamer, a schemer, a hoper, a trier, a maker, a doer, a gotta fly higher. This Yet finds a way even when you don't, and yet knows you will when you think you won't. Like that shiny new bike that you couldn't ride, hop right back on with the Yet by your side. Yet doesn't mind warm-ups, fixes and flops, do-overs, redos, stumbles and stops. Yet knows there's mistakes, some big and some small. With Yet, you're sure to get over them all. Play the kazoo or play the bassoon, jam with the Yet, and you'll soon be in tune. Try skateboarding tricks like the ollie heel flip. This yet can get to the championship. Tongue twisters, twisted your tongue in a knot, yet says, keep trying and practice a lot. Be patient, yet can't do it all overnight. Some things take days, months, or years to get right. But if you keep leaping, dreaming, wishing, waiting, learning, trying, missing, with the yet is your guide along the way, you'll do all the things you can't do today. Now you're bolder, braver, starting to see with yet you can get where you want to be. You finally did it. Yet knew you could. You're not just riding, you're getting quite good. But don't stop now. You've got so much to do. Good news is, this yet grows with you. No matter how big or old you may get, you'll never outgrow, you'll never forget. You can always believe in the magic of yet.
Don't think we have any children today, but with Avi's help, we'll sing them away virtually.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of us surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
Our shared plate recipient for the month of March is NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. NAMI Mercer's mission to offer help and hope to all those affected by mental illness is one that touches just about everyone. They raise awareness of mental illness and reduce stigma through a message that you're not alone. Give generously, and we thank you for your generosity. I would now like to welcome Reverend Dr. Neal Jones for our reading this morning.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Gil, and thank you, Avi. I have to say, Avi, of all the services I've attended throughout my life, I don't think I've ever heard Bob Marley in a service, so thank you. And good morning to all of you. It's good to be with you on this morning, you use of Lower Bucks. Our reading is from a well-known person, Abraham Maslow, who had this to say: in any given moment, we have two options: to step forward into growth or to step back into safety. The choice is yours.
This is a song written by very famous songwriters Johnny Mercer and Harold Arlen, and made famous, of course, by a voice many of you might find familiar, Bing Crosby. And again, it's another way of framing things and looking at things and what we might choose to focus on. Feel free to sing along if you know it. You've got to accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative, and don't mess with Mr. In-Between. You've got to spread joy up to the maximum, bring gloom down to the minimum. Have faith, the pandemonium is liable to walk upon the scene. To illustrate that last remark, Jonah in the whale and Noah in the ark. What did they do just when everything looked so dark? They said we better accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative, and don't mess with Mr. In-Between. To illustrate that last remark, Jonah in the whale and Noah in the ark. What did they do just when everything looked so dark? You better accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative, and don't mess with Mr. In-Between. No, don't mess with Mr. In-Between. No, do not mess with Mr. In-Between.
Thanks, Avi. That was awesome. Now let's welcome back Reverend Dr. Neal Jones with his sermon, Choosing Your Problems.
Thank you. Once upon a time, long ago in the Himalayan foothills, a king had a son whom he was determined to spare from any experience of suffering. The king built high walls around the palace to prevent the prince from knowing the suffering of the rest of the world. Inside the palace walls, servants catered to the child's every wish and whim, lavishing him with food and gifts. But after several years of being spoiled, the boy grew bored and restless. No matter how much he was given, it never seemed enough. Everything and every experience seemed empty. So late one night, the prince snuck out of the palace to see what lay beyond the palace walls. He had a servant to drive him through the local village, and what he saw horrified him. For the first time in his life, the prince saw sick people, homeless people, people in pain, and people dying. For the first time, he saw suffering. And it changed the way he saw life, including his own life. All of his riches now seemed meaningless. And the prince concluded that his lifestyle of the rich and famous was making him miserable. So he ran away, not only from the palace itself, but from his privileged royal life. He gave up his family, his status, his possessions, and lived in the streets. He begged for scraps of food and lived with hunger, disease, loneliness, and pain. He fully embraced a life of suffering. Eventually, he came to realize what many of us have long known, that suffering sucks. He discovered that suffering without a purpose is as meaningless as living the high life without a purpose. Having experienced the extremes of life, the prince cleaned himself up and went and found a big tree near a river. He decided he would sit under that tree until he could make some sense of life. And as legend has it, he meditated under that tree for 49 days, at the end of which he came to this conclusion, that life is full of suffering. Whether you are rich or poor, popular or detested, attractive or ugly, an American or Chinese, a fan of the Eagles or the Chiefs, pain and loss are inevitable in your life, and trying to deny, avoid, or resist them only makes your suffering worse. You may have heard of this prince. He would later be known as the Buddha, the Enlightened One. Now, the American version of Buddhism is summed up by that Gilda Radner character in the original cast of Saturday Night Live, Rosanna Dana. It's always something. Life is one problem after another. The rich have problems with their money. The poor have problems with their poverty. People with family have family problems. People without families have individual problems. People with dogs have dog problems. People with cats have cat problems. People with cars have car problems. People who walk have foot problems. Now, that's not to say that all problems are equal, but the fact remains that life is full of problems. The Buddha and Rosanna Dana are basically making a philosophical observation about life. But there's an evolutionary observation to be made as well about why life is full of suffering. As a species, we human beings have evolved the capacity to feel continual dissatisfaction and insecurity because dissatisfaction and insecurity motivate us to work, explore, innovate, push the limits, put ourselves out there, take some action that will enhance our survival. We are hardwired to become dissatisfied with whatever we have and to seek satisfaction in what we do not have. This is why the prince's boredom and restlessness, not despite his riches and privileges, but because of them, ring true. Because of his boredom and restlessness, he went beyond the walls of his comfort, literally and spiritually. This innate dissatisfaction has kept our species striving and struggling, conquering and building. It has enabled us to survive. Seen in this light, pain takes on new meaning. Now, we typically view pain as bad, as something to avoid at all costs. In fact, for many of us, the perfect life would be to be perfectly free of pain and free of problems. But pain is our teacher, and problems are our motivator. Our nervous systems evolve the capacity to register pain for our own survival. When we stub our toe on that coffee table, we're more likely to walk around it with a wider berth. When we touch that hot stove, we're more likely to use a microwave next time. And pain is not merely physical, of course. We also evolve the capacity to feel psychological pain, which also enhances our survival. In fact, and I find this interesting, research has found that our brains register psychological pain the same as physical pain. In MRI scans, the same areas of the brain are activated for both physical and psychological pain. I suspect that the word brokenhearted entered our vocabulary because the experience of loss can sometimes feel like your heart is literally breaking. So, feeling the emotions of sadness, loneliness, guilt, shame, anger, and so forth is like stubbing our toe or touching a hot stove. These emotions teach us to avoid making the same mistakes in the future. Of course, it's not fun experiencing pain, whether it's physical or psychological, which is why most of us characteristically avoid pain in at least 4 ways. One way is denial. Some of us sometimes deny our problems by minimizing them or just plain pretending they don't exist. It's a convenient way of ignoring reality, and it may make us feel good for a little while and even work in the short run. But reality will catch up with us eventually. A second way we avoid pain is through distraction. Some of us sometimes distract ourselves from our problems by pointing our attention to something else which has nothing to do with our problems. And the better our distraction feels, the easier it is to become distracted. Now, distractions can be anything as simple as spending way too much time on Facebook to something as complicated as having a baby to save a marriage. If our distractions do a really good job of numbing our pain and making us forget our problems, they can become addictions, substances or activities which reliably help us avoid reality. Anything can become addictive, even normally healthy things like exercise or meditation. The problem with distractions, while okay in small doses, is that the longer we avoid our problems and numb our pain, the more painful it will be when we finally do confront our issues. A third way we avoid pain is through blame. Some of us sometimes blame others or our circumstances for our problems. Whether the blame is justified or not, blame makes us feel good because it shifts our focus from our responsibility for dealing with our problems to making a judgment about who or what is at fault. Now, unless you're in a court of law, making such judgments is helpful only to the extent that they lead us to take some action to solve our problems. At the end of the day, we are left with the responsibility of addressing our problems, however they were created and whoever created them. And a fourth way we avoid pain is through victimhood. Playing the victim takes blaming others to a whole new level. Now, some of us sometimes play the role of victim because, like blame in all its forms, it absolves us of the responsibility for our problems. Now, many people who regularly play this role do so because they were victimized earlier in life. So it's a role that feels familiar and comfortable. It's a role with a narrow field of vision. Perpetual victims see others as powerful and in control and see themselves as helpless. Unfortunately, their sense of helplessness holds them back from taking necessary action to solve their problems. Playing the victim is, unfortunately, self-reinforcing because it feels good. It feels good to be full of righteous indignation over the way one has been mistreated, whether the mistreatment is real or imagined. And we're seeing a lot of that these days in our politics. Again, righteous indignation is useful only if it leads to taking action to solve our problems. So, life is a series of problems, which we shouldn't avoid because they have the potential to teach us. Now, we may not like the pain which often comes with problems, but you don't have to like something in order to face it and deal with it. The Buddha taught us, and our experience confirms, that resisting the inevitable suffering of life only creates more suffering. Dodging our problems only works in the short run. Reality always has the last word. Always. Besides, if you spend your days avoiding what is painful and uncomfortable, you'll also spend your life avoiding your life. But you and I don't want to hear that. In fact, we don't believe it. We optimistic Americans who, compared to the rest of the world, live within the walls of our privileged palace. We believe the purpose of life is to be happy. And to be happy means you achieve a pain-free and problem-free life. We believe that happiness is something that can be worked for and earned and achieved. Once I graduate with that degree, then I'll be happy. Once I meet the right person, then I'll live happily ever after. Once I get that job or that promotion, then I'll be set for life. Once I buy that house in that neighborhood, then I'll be somebody. Once I make X amount of dollars, then I will have arrived. Once I get my weight down to X pounds, then I will feel good about myself. Some have called this American pursuit of happiness the hedonic treadmill, from the word hedonism. We are constantly working hard, pursuing the next thing that promises to make us happy. But once we get it, sooner or later, we find ourselves dissatisfied again. So over the palace walls we go, chasing the next high, the never-ending hedonic treadmill. We treat happiness as if it were something to be discovered, owned, attained, or achieved once and for all. But happiness is a process. It involves struggle. It involves facing and solving our problems. Think about it. This is what we mean when we say we're in the flow. In the flow means to be fully immersed, fully engaged, fully absorbed in an activity. And your engagement energizes you and makes you feel alive and makes you happy. So happy that you lose track of time and you cease being worried about the opinions of others or your own self-judgments. And that activity is typically the facing of a challenge or solving a problem. Think about those moments in your life. When I look back on my life, one of the happiest times of my life was a time when my life was full of challenges and problems. I had decided to leave my profession as a minister and go back to graduate school to become a psychologist. I was going to classes each week, reading, studying, doing research, writing papers, and being tested in an area of study that was new to me. At the same time, I was working 20 hours a week in a clinical setting, providing services and being evaluated continually on my performance. At the same time, I was working as the part-time minister of a congregation I had discovered in this religion I had not heard of before that sounded like a cult, Unitarian Universalism. At the same time, my wife and I had bought our first house, which I was trying to maintain, while also maintaining our relationship and managing our finances as my student loan debt grew larger and larger. I look back on that time of my life now, and I don't know how I made it. I was so busy. I was so tired. I was dealing with one problem after another. And I was fully immersed, fully engaged, fully absorbed in the moment. I was in the flow. Yes, I was stressed and stretched, but I was also happy. True happiness comes from struggle. It grows from facing and solving problems. Now, we want the result without the process, the reward without the struggle, the victory without the fight. We think we can have the view from the summit without having to climb the mountain. But happiness comes from climbing the mountain. For instance, people who enjoy good health and a healthy physique willingly choose to work out, calculate calories, and eat the right kinds of foods in the right amounts. People who enjoy their careers willingly choose to put in the long hours at work and navigate the office politics. People who enjoy their relationships willingly choose to engage in the tough, honest conversations, sacrifice their self-centeredness, and commit themselves to the well-being of the relationship. People who enjoy their congregation willingly choose to engage in the tough, honest conversations, sacrifice their self-centeredness, and commit themselves to the well-being of the community. So the more meaningful question is not what will make me happy, but what pain am I willing to sustain? What problems am I willing to face and solve? If I can answer those questions, the question of my happiness will answer itself. Those wise teachers, the Buddha and Rosanna, were right. Problems are going to come, one after another, our entire lives. So the spiritual challenge is to choose the problems as much as we are able, to focus on and to solve. If we want good health, then we have to deal with the problems of making time to go to the gym, working up a sweat, and denying ourselves certain foods. If I decided good health is not that important to me, I have to face another set of problems, like looking like a potato, taking a longer to walk up a flight of stairs, visiting my doctor more often, taking more pills, and dealing with my medical insurance. And the solution to today's problem lays the foundation for tomorrow's problem. Let's say you solve the problem of earning your degree. Then you get to solve the problem of finding a job and climbing the ladder of your career. Let's say you solve the problem of finding Mr. or Ms. Right. Then you get to solve the problem of building a marriage, getting a divorce, and starting over again. Problems never stop. They merely get exchanged or upgraded for other problems. So you might as well choose the problems that advance your values. On Pledge Sunday, we talk about how the way we spend our money reflects our values. Well, the problems we choose to face also reflect what is important to us. We are defined by what we are willing to struggle for. Let me repeat that. We are defined by what we are willing to struggle for. Now, we like the idea that there's some form of ultimate happiness that can be achieved. We like the idea that we can alleviate our suffering permanently. We like the idea that we can feel fulfilled and satisfied with our lives forever. But we can't. Life simply doesn't work that way. Instead of engaging in wishful thinking, we would do better to ask ourselves, what am I willing to struggle for. Happiness is not waiting for us on the mountaintop. It's found in the climbing. Amen.
Thank you so much to Neal for, I just love the fact that he tailors his sermons directly for me. Anybody else out there? Was he looking at you too? Now's the time in our service when we recognize and lift up one another in love. Please come up to this microphone, share your joy or sorrow, if you have one to share.
I'm Sherry. Sometimes people ask me why we have a Zoom speaker, and that's why. We love, as a general rule, because I canvass people, Reverend Dr. Neal Jones. He is so good with his message, and I felt like it was for me. But he, just one of our many top-notch speakers. Thank you, Neal.
Hi, I'm Nancy, and I was going to come up for this one reason, and now with Dr. Neal's message, it even makes more of an impact, is for two reasons. I was talking to somebody the other day, and we were talking about suffering. Believe it or not, Dr. Neal, we were talking about suffering. Why is life so hard? And I also quoted Buddha and said, that is what Buddha said, is life is suffering. So you said it much better than I did. That's all I could get out. And I liked your elaboration. And the other thing I wanted to say was, I was going to come up and say thank you, Mike, because every week he puts our sermons on our YouTube channel, and the ones that I go back to most often are Dr. Neal's messages. And of all the things that I want to share sometimes I say, just go to those and get a message and see what you think, see how you feel, see if it touches you. And so I want to thank you again for coming to us Zoom, because we really do appreciate your message, and it does hit home. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Melanie. I just felt a need to mention, I know we all know the horrendous drug issues and struggles. My brother's been struggling for like 20 years, and I made a decision. He hadn't spoke to me for over 2 months, and I knew him really am in touch with him, so I had the courage to report him missing, and it feels like it was the best thing to do. If you can keep Thomas in your thoughts, that would be great. Thank you.
And I'll share a quick joy wrapped in a quick, funny little story. Anne's birthday is coming up on Monday. And so we decided we would do a pizza party down at a really nice, sort of a famous pizzeria down in Fishtown. And so I just started a group chat with our kids and their significant others to all join us for the pizza party. And then what I didn't realize is I got a text a couple days later from my sister-in-law, Anne's sister Kay, saying, I don't think you meant to include me on this text, but you did. I told the group, and then of course my future daughter-in-law texted back, fist, flag, fire emoji. Anyway, whether or not you shared today, for your joys, we in this community join you in celebration. For any sorrows or concerns, may you feel our sympathy and compassion. And with that, Avi will lead us in the singing of Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Who told me close set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
I ask you to get comfortable and be prepared to join me in a meditation. Trust. It's like so many other things in life to which you must say no or yes. So you take your car to the new mechanic. Sometimes the best thing to do is trust. The package left with the disreputable-looking clerk, the check gulped by the night deposit, the envelope passed by dozens of strangers, all show up at their intended destinations. The theft that could have happened doesn't. Wind finally gets where it was going through the snowy trees, and the river, even when frozen, arrives at the right place. And sometimes you sense how faithfully your life is delivered, even though you can't read the address. Now we'll look to Avi one more time for our closing song.
Please rise and body your spirit as you are able. Our closing song today is hymn number 1007, There's a River Flowing in My Soul. We'll sing 3 verses, exchanging the word soul for heart and mind as we go, so you can feel it throughout your entirety. So feel free to sing with me. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul, in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my heart, in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my mind. One last time, in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul.
I'll extinguish the chalice and then read these words from the Reverend Scott Taylor. Go with faith, not the kind that is called to move mountains, but the quieter sort that calls us to take the first step, even when the whole staircase sits beyond our view. As we stride toward the unseen, may we notice that the way unfolds only as we risk traveling it. And may we remember and trust that none of these steps are ones we take alone. Amen. Our service is concluded. For those of you on Zoom and here in this room, thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see you all again next week. In the meantime, again, another heartfelt thanks to Reverend Dr. Neal Jones for another excellent sermon. We've come to expect that high bar from him now. And everybody else, join us down in the hall for coffee and conversation. Go now in peace. Amen and blessed be.
Testing.